I got my son Beau on this Volkswagen with a check engine light. You know, he doesn't know what he's doing, but this is something I've told all of my students in the past. Pick the damn tool up and push some buttons, right? That's what he's doing. Like nobody
my loaner. Nice.
Well, I always said this too, Danner.
Don't break the loaner.
Don't break the loaner, yeah. You know, nobody taught you how to use your phone. How'd you learn how to use your phone and all the features? You sat on the toilet taking a shit and you're like, what's this button do? Yeah. Oh, that's what that button does. That's half the battle.
You accidentally hit the clear codes button before you read them.
That's not good. Or when you're on this and you crank it over and the battery dies on you midway, so then you lose all your misfire data.
At least you didn't leave a wrench on the crank pulley as you returned it over.
I never did. I didn't do that. Keep up the good work, Beau. One my son was doing, the Volkswagen I just mentioned, it has a Bank 1 Sensor 1 heater circuit code. And what I'm showing Beau how to do is to manually check a heater circuit. We had no data parameters that were really going to help us on this car, and it is the upstream sensor, and fortunately for us, very easy to get to, so we're going to be working right here. So our first channel is voltage, right? This guy. We'll do power and ground on the heater. Our second channel, we want our low amp 20, which is the tool we're using. We'll set this guy to a 20 amp setting to match the tool, and then it's calibrated for us. Okay. Given that when you have oxygen sensor heater codes, you generally are going to need an oxygen sensor most of the time. You can have broken wires and things like that, and we just want to make sure. So that's the plan. And what I'm going to do to make this easier for us, because this is all part of a new sensor, I'm going to strip back this side of the harness. I want more working room, and a seam ripper is the shit. No, this is in general. This being a wideband sensor, and I know that by the number of wires I see.
What's wideband?
Wideband, narrowband would be for studying purposes for homework tonight. Is my chapter 4 and chapter 5 material in my book. A narrowband sensor, we would generally see 4 wires today. There's variables to that too, but a wideband, if you see more than 4 wires on an oxygen sensor, it's a wideband. A narrowband sensor can only sense lambda, stoichiometric, 14.7 to 1. So 14.7 parts of air, 1 part of fuel is like the perfect combustion. Not perfect gas mileage, not perfect fuel economy, the best emissions. That's the rate for gasoline. 14.7 to 1 is ideal. Narrowband can only sense that point. It's not even a sensor, it's more of a switch. Oh. But I mentioned that because we have, I have looks like 5 wires. How many I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What I generally will do when I'm looking for a heater circuit is I look for what you'll typically see is 2 wires that are the same color. When you see 2 wires that are the same color, then you generally know that's going to be your heater circuit. Unfortunately for us, they're all different. I have no idea which one of these is the heater circuit. So I need some help to know which ones I'm dealing with. A wideband sensor, by the way, which I didn't mention, is able to measure a wide range of ratios, not just that one point. So let's get a little info here. All right. Sensor. Here's my sensor. This symbol to the right here, that guy, that's the heater. When you see that symbol like inside, that's the heater. Well, so it's blue, red, and blue.
Why is it in the heater?
These sensors do not function and produce the chemical reaction that we need until like 1600 degrees.
What?
A wideband sensor will not function. Narrow bands need like 800 degrees. A wideband needs like 1600 degrees. I might be wrong on that number. Maybe it's 1200, but it's more than 1000 degrees they need to be to function.
That's crazy.
So we send power and current, power and a ground through a little heating element to keep the sensor hot.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a heater circuit code. We're going to be doing amperage and voltage checks on these 2 wires, and it's showing blue and blue-red. Now here's the thing that many rookies miss. This is sensor side. This is harness side. So the colors change on us. So I have to cross-reference. So blue and blue-red. So the blue-red, these are fatter wires too. See the fat, how much fatter that blue red is, and that's probably the fatter white wire here too that's underneath.
It says blue red power.
Oh, it says blue, red, and blue. I don't know yet. I don't see blue, red, and blue. I see diagrams wrong. I see a blue, red, and a white. I'm showing 1, 2, 3. There's 6 wires here. How many do we have here? There's 5, but I have 6 on this side. Okay, some discrepancies there. I wouldn't think that this should be a 5-wire sensor. What's the new one? 5 wires, 6 pins. There's discrepancies here, and I don't care right now. I need to keep moving, right? We got a bunch of shit to do in the shop. The fat wires are going to be my heater circuit.
Yeah.
They got to be. Like, I don't care about the rest. I don't care about what they're doing with 6 pins to 5. So those 2 wires, you know what? We'll just do everything here on this harness side. I was going to go sensor side, but since this is more obvious to me, our checks are going to be here. We put our amp clamp, 20 amp setting, and we'll just put that around either of the 2. It doesn't matter if it's the white or the red black. We'll go red black, because current flow, what comes into the circuit has to come out of the circuit. We should have amperage there. I don't need those 2 just yet. We'll just do amperage first. I'll set this to like a 5 amp setting.
Turn the car on.
Yeah, inductive amp probes. As far as oxygen sensor heater current goes, these will generally run over an amp, close to 2 amps of current. I'm gonna start it, let's see what we get. 0. Okay, no amperage at all. Sometimes they delay the heater turn on, so we'll just wait for a second. Yeah, I got nothing. Nada. All right.
So is that heater filament or heater part of the O2 sensor bad then?
Yes. But we want to make sure before we call the sensor is bad, we're going to do voltage now, because we could be missing a power or missing a ground. No current flow is all we know so far. So then we go battery negative with this guy. I'm going to back probe the white wire on this side first. And I just wanted to see what we have here. Could be my long time base. Let's shorten that. Oh, it is my long time base. I know what the problem is. I'm gonna say it. There's a lot of theory that goes involved with this. This is an open circuit. That's the computer's control of the O2 heater. And the reason we're seeing like 3.5 volts in these drops, this is a bias voltage the computer uses to know that that's an open circuit. What we should have on the other side is, the other side, like the other heater wire, we should have 12 volts. I'm just gonna do it. There's your power feed. So our heater power is good. Our heater ground, which is this freaking little 3.5 volt signal there, that heater is open. There's so much in that guy, and just in that signal right there. Let me see if I can explain this to you. All right, I'll try to keep the circuit simple. We have a power feed that we checked, goes through the heater element that we saw on the wiring diagram. Just draw it like that. The ground side of this is all going to be inside the computer. This would be a transistor that controls it. And then just picture that as either an open switch or a closed switch. That's basically what it's gonna do. What we saw here is 12 volts, and what we saw here is a flat line, roughly 3.5 volts, with a pulsed signal on occasion going on there. So what I'm saying is this heater is open. That's what that means.
That control 3-point, the control trying to...
It's actually another circuit that's tied in here, and we'll just put this as a resistor. Forget the pulsing. I can't tell you what it's doing for the pulse, but we're going to put this through a resistor, and there's a positive source inside of here. Whenever this, forget this for a second now, and let's say the circuit's intact. If the switch is off, the computer's going to see 12 volts in this location. It's going to see 12 volts. No voltage drop across this, 12. When this transistor turns on, it pulls this leg all the way to ground, so it wants to see 0 volts. What the computer's seeing right now is 3.5 in that location. That's what's setting the code. And that 3.5 is coming from this circuit that is feeding this, and it's moving this direction.
Need that circuit to feed it.
This is called a bias voltage, and it is used for open short circuit testing. Computer's testing itself.
Testing itself.
Yes.
Yeah, and which was cool.
Okay,
on our
I
side.
thought it was like the control for the
No, the driver's not.
transistor
No,
that
that
was like
this.
somehow feeding back feed.
There is a separate transistor that's doing something in here, and a resistor, and how it does that. But they'll use manufacturers don't typically will pulse this. They'll just put a bleed voltage in there, and you'll see, like Danner said, you unplug a Ford and you see 5 volts because they run that resistor in there. Some of the manufacturers don't even run a bias, and their circuit analysis is just simply.
Yeah, do I see 12?
Right,
there
do
or
I see
not?
12 or 0? Because it knows with the circuit open, we should see 12. And if it sees 0 with the circuit open, it flags the same code, open heater circuit, whatever.
But I like the bias because you just confirmed the computer is good, the circuitry through the whole engine is good.
So how does that 3 or 3.5 volts not affect the circuit at all other times?
That's a good question because
isn't it?
It's always going to have that 3.5 there, and then you'd have 12 volts coming this way. It'd be 12 with it open, 0 with it closed. So Beau's question is, what is that 12 volts going to do to that 3.5? And my short answer is, I have no idea. But what I can say can be done is we can simply put a diode right here that does not allow that 12 to come back to the 3 and overload that 3 with the 12.
Okay.
But now there's something else cool we can do here. In this kind of scenario, if you didn't have this, let's say that wire was 0 all the time. If I didn't have this bias voltage, as Danner was talking about, this tells you the signal wire is intact all the way back to the computer or control wire. What's the heater? 12 volt goes across the resistor and then it gets pulsed to ground. What's my test light connected to right now? Battery voltage. Check my light. My light lights. This pin, when I touch on that with this car running, that light should pulse. Or it should light steady. Now there's a bias there and I have a code and this might not work.
Yeah, Will, watch this change when you do that.
What's the test light to?
It changed.
So we went to 12 volts and now we got a pulse, but my light, it's glowing actually very dimly right now. Can you see it? Well, the pulse width is so low on that's why it's not even, it's ground side switch, so it's not long.
It's like a dimmer on your freaking light bulb.
And it's not long enough to make that light bright.
Here, wait, take it off. Yeah, see, it's gone. There it is. So you can see it's being controlled.
But what you can do is, I don't have this connected to the car, but you can do a test like that, clear the code, and see if the code comes back with your test light there, and then
because it's getting the 12 volts.
It sees something it likes. Now it might not be the right amperage, so it might not work, but these are ways you can test computer driver and circuit integrity with a test light. But the variables are, if the code's in memory, it may not turn the driver on. So what you would do is you'd rig your test light up to keep it there.
And then clear the code.
Clear the codes, then start it back up and see if your light lights. And like bidirectional controls we don't need because that heater on an upstream sensor should be on all the time. But if it was a downstream, some of those, they won't turn them on right away. Use the scanner in bidirectional mode and turn the heater on and then look at the light to light. Well, how's your control wire? How's your driver? Good, good. Put a sensor in. We'll
and the longer he talks, the harder it's going to be to put that sensor in.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's sitting here running.
That is truth from your uncle. All right, so the best thing for us to do is revisit this again with the new sensor so you see what current looks like. We had no current, and then see what proper heater control looks like. Okay, we'll change that and we'll come back here in a minute. Okay, follow up. New O2 is installed. We're just kind of making sure Beau understands what's going on here. So we'll look at channel 1 first, which is this is going to be my heater voltage. Key on. I think before key on, did we have?
Why did it drop?
Because I have inverted selected. And then it's on a 2 volt, so let's go to 20. So you see the difference? What's the new? What's
12 volts steady instead of 3.5.
Correct, and we're measured on this side. Yeah. We're reading 12 volts right here. That tells you initially your heater circuit is intact.
It's intact because it's just sitting waiting for
a ground. Yep, I like that. I use that term all the time. Then I'll put my amp clamp. We'll look at voltage and current at the same time. I'll put my amp clamp on the other wire just for room. We can go on either side of the circuit for amperage, and then we'll start it. Pulse width modulated, that's 2 seconds. Let's drop that down. We're missing some stuff. There we go. The on time of this sensor is the low portion. My amp clamp is upside down. Let's invert that for accuracy. I'll change this to a 50 just to shrink that down so you can see them both. And let's set a trigger so that stops walking. And what you'll see is the pulse width changing. So if you look at the pattern, the battery voltage up here, right? When it switches on, voltage drops low at the same time you see current rise. So there's your pulse width modulated O2 heater circuit. And you know how to check one with a bias voltage and know that your heater was open. That will fix that code. Any questions? Pretty straightforward, huh? Sweet. I like it. Good job, Beau. I like your questions. They're really, really good. Oh, while I have that going still, let me show you one other thing. See if this works. With that longer pulse width, what you'll see with my test light now, I'm not looking at the lab scope anymore, just looking at my test light for O2 heater. And watch it, real dim test light, and let's see if it starts increasing the pulse width. My light should get brighter if it does. It may not because it likes the temperature that the heater's at right now. Nah. Oh, there it was. As soon as I pulled my test light away, look how bright it is now. Why'd that happen? Longer pulse width, right? That's just your driver test. We didn't need a test light because we have the lab scope, but I just wanted to show you the difference with test light brightness with longer pulse. Good stuff.
I had a lady I did something for. It was something really quick, and she's like, "What do you want?" I said, "A bucket of cheese balls." And because the crows were there, and I laughed, and I was like, "Nah, don't worry about it. I'm just kidding. I got enough here."
She brought you a bucket?
Today, there's a bucket of cheese balls sitting there, so wait till you see them try to pick 3 of them up.
Oh, nice. The crows like your cheese balls?
Cheese balls.